for people who have not done a track day to, instead of hear from me, as that could sound like a sales pitch or something, I'd rather they hear from you that, what your experience was. And because I'll tell you, the biggest effort I have to make at this job with running these track days, I'm going to call them that for now, is just trying to convince people that they should give it a try. And that's my biggest problem. And I know it's a problem for people that come too, because they're like, oh, it was the best thing ever. And I'm trying to get my friend, Billy, who really needs this, to come, and he just won't do it. And so I feel your pain, because it's my pain too. But those of you who've been, how beneficial it is. Um, and I also, I know right off that every time I say it is that, well, I don't want to race. All right. So we try to get past that it's not racing, which is why I changed the name from track day to training day. And those of you who've taken the event, the non-sport bike event, that we really focus it as a training day. The fact that it also allows you to go out and have fun, without a whole lot of restrictions, that's fine, and that's what a normal training day is. But our focus is training, and so it makes total sense that it's called a training day that happens to be on a closed course, which is the safest place to ride, and it is. And so that's something that seems hard to convince people of, because racetrack safe. It's like, well, yeah. And I probably don't have to tell you guys, and again, I'm looking at the list of people that have done the track days, that it's a controlled environment. And so the only thing that really causes problems is the rider, that would be you, if you get a little overly exuberant, and with the fact that you have no speed limits, and there's a lot of freedom. So that's where we really need to make sure that everybody's in that frame of mind for learning, and not for just ripping. So that's and we haven't had a crash for the last 3 events, and so that's 300 people over, or more than that, but around 300 people that have gone out and done the circuit, and done the event, and nobody has fallen. So that's pretty good. That's actually very good, because we do expect one person to go off the track and drop their bike, maybe in the gravel, and that's usually all it is. You just run wide, and you kind of go to your panic response, which is what humans do, is we target fixate, and we end up not doing what we can do, and what you could do, and what your motorcycle is capable of doing, which is to make the corner. Instead, we stand it up and we go off the track. And the thing is, again, back to the controlled environment argument, is that there's no guardrail you're going to hit. Now, some people will look at Palmer and say, well, there's not a lot of runoff. There's plenty of runoff, certainly for the speeds that we're going, because we have normal track days there, and we have not had. There's been a couple people in the normal track days that have made it to the tire wall, but it's mostly the bike. I mean, the rider tends to not even make it that far. So it's surprisingly safe, even at real race type speeds. But for our purposes, it's really a matter of we go out there, we stay focused on it being a training day, and you stay within the limits of your ability that day and the capabilities of your bike, and it's all good. And you get better. One thing we always talk about, and when I'm training individuals or groups, is that when you want to learn something, you have to notch it back to 80% or even less of whatever your normal 100% would be, because you can't learn if you're just trying to get through, around the corner, and all you're doing is focusing on, just surviving. You don't learn anything. So you have to slow it down, so that you can focus on the lessons that we're trying to impart to you that in the classroom. So in the classroom, we're there for 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and we're giving you an assignment, and then you go out and you then practice that assignment, and then you come back in the classroom after your session, and then we talk about it and we see if there are any questions, and we'll elaborate if we need to, and then rinse and repeat, and we'll do that throughout the day. So that's the general sort of thing there. If as far as this year, things have changed, not just with non-sport bike training days, but also with the normal regular track days, is that, post-COVID, the events sold out like, months in advance. That's not happening right now. I suspect they're going to sell out, but it's just that people aren't feeling the urgency that they did in 2021 and 2022. So I've got about a third to a half of the first day, the May day, is full. And so I suspect, by April it's going to be full. So keep your eye on the calendar if you want to get in there. Make sure that you do. And again, there's a discount if you do both days, if you pay for both days at once, and you save $50. And we're doing, like we always do, we have the two events, both at Palmer, Massachusetts, and we are doing them in different directions. So I forget which one we go on whatever the normal track day is doing, that and Tony's track days, which is actually now called Cyclesmith. And so we'll just do what they did their last day, because then we start up the day after their last day. So whatever direction they were going, but we will set up the track to go the opposite direction the next time, which is awesome that we can do that. This track allows us to do that. It means that you really have the opportunity to ride like two different roads or two different tracks, because they feel very different. And one direction is really, really beneficial for learning trail braking. Both of them are, both directions, but one particular one, which is the clockwise direction. I have videos of the non-sport bike groups, all three of them, on my YouTube channel, Riding in the Zone or Ken Condon, just what my label is here on the in Zoom. And just look there. They're actually just posted them. Well, when did I post them? The end of the last event, so probably in September or so. But they're pretty fresh at the top of the YouTube channel. But look and see if you really don't know what it's like. There you go. Just they're right in the YouTube. I do have one here. I'm going to share my screen and show. I know Karen's here, Karen Salemi. I've got this really great video of her. I'm following her at the last track day. Karen looks great. Hey, Karen, chime in here. What bike were you riding? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, that was my 700 GS.
Right. So tell us about why what the benefit of doing these events is for you.
God, I wish I could remember what I wrote on Facebook about it, because I felt like I was very eloquent when I made that post. But just the cornering was a huge thing for me. Finally figuring out what the apex is after how many classes have I taken, and well, I haven't done that many track days, but figuring out where the apex is and kind of hitting it mostly, and getting comfortable with the speed, getting comfortable with the proper way of leaning over. In some of the photos that I got, you could tell when my peg hit, but then the photo that I actually had printed and framed was there was somebody else in the photo, which kind of stinks, but you can see where my body is appears to be leaning right. I would let you be the judge of that, but the peg is at least an inch off the ground. But it's the same corner, and my body, like in relation, it looks like the bike, like this, fumbling on the words, obviously, but it just looked a lot better because I just felt that I was doing the right kind of leaning on the bike. But then after that, I did a trip down south, and I just felt like I was really handling the bike much better on the street.
Well, see, that's what I want to hear, is that, because this is training for street riders. There was a right here. Look at everybody see Karen's body position right there. See his shoulder forward and down. That's just really good, Karen. It's really nice.
Thank you. Yeah, and the riding that I did was down in North Carolina and in Virginia and West Virginia. So it was very helpful to have some really great roads.
Yeah, yeah. So, and we're going to New Zealand. We're going to be on a trip to New Zealand, Karen and me and my
Weeks.
wife, and yeah. So yeah, and it's going to be more alpine type stuff. So this is the corner I was talking about when it comes to trail braking practice. This is a pretty steep downhill. And so to learn about sort of carrying the brakes into the corner, that's what Karen's doing here, and she's doing it here too. You see the brake light, hold it, hold it, hold it, release it when you're safe. And this is a long corner. There you go. That's trail braking right there. So again, practice, practice, practice. And that's the beauty of the track, is that you come to the same corner, every 2 minutes. So, a lap is, 2 minutes, and it depends on how fast you go. And so you get to practice and practice. You probably get, I don't know what, 5, 6 laps maybe in a session, something like that. Because they're 20-minute sessions, and then you come off the track and go into the classroom. So if those of you who are with us today and you've signed up or you're considering it, you're on the fence, but it's your first track day, and this is what it looks like. So I'm on a 1983 Honda. So I think right on this, it's at the beginning here. I was up to maybe 85 or 90 miles an hour on the straightaway. So that's all you need. And a lot of times people will say, well, I'm on a small bike like a CRF, 300. It's like, that's fine. It's absolutely fine. All you really need to do is get it to highway speeds, because there will be people in your group, because we have 3 groups and they're separated more. Yes, a little bit about ability, because we have a lot of repeat people now, and we'll put them in the faster groups. For newer riders, we tend to put, depending on the bike you're on, you're either going to be in the beginner, or not the beginner, it's not at all a beginner group. It's what I call our red group, which would be our slower pace group, the intermediate one if you're on a faster bike. But maybe it was your first day. And we try to get a match so that you don't have people going only maybe 70 miles an hour on the straightaway, and others passing them at 120. That's you still are going to get people going 100. But if you're doing 80, it's not that big a deal. 20 miles an hour, when everybody's going the same direction, is not that big a deal. I will say also the biggest thing that I get feedback from after these events that's negative is how other people are not, they're following the rules, but they're just not quite as got their head in the same sort of mind frame, time, whatever, the mindset, sorry, of training. And so they tend to go out there and just are focusing on going fast. And other people can tell, because it just seems like those riders are a little bit erratic. They're just kind of hair on fire. And so if we hear about that, or we see it, because we have instructors that are riding around, we just want to make sure that, that you're not pushing it and not too hard that you could end up being in the gravel, but also that you're, playing well with others. And so it's not a big deal. It's like, but I just want to, I'm being frank, and that's the one thing that that we would like to see, is that when people just had that mindset, then everybody would be focusing on their riding and less on the speed. So again, for our events, that's what 99% of the people do. So those of you who are like, oh, whoa, I don't want to get involved with that, so don't worry about it. I'm really just kind of probably oversharing. Uh,
Can I,
the
can I add something?
Yeah, please.
So that was the first time I did a track walk the night before, and because I didn't want to get up at the crack of dawn and ride down there, knowing that it was going to be a long day. So I, booked the hotel where I think a lot of people stayed. But anyway, did the track walk, and that was extremely helpful to kind of get a feel for the track, and that helped eliminate some of those nerves that you're talking about, where people are kind of not necessarily oblivious to track etiquette and stuff. But because I don't know if you remember, the last time I did a track there was a long time ago, and they had those little X's on the track. So Tony was like, yeah, we took those away because those are like enabler kind of a things.
Yeah,
And
crutches. Yeah.
yeah, crutches. And so the last time, I really depended on those. But this time it, it had to be me doing it, and not you know, depending on some external visual to guide me through. So I think that it's worth doing, especially if you're going to go down the night before.
Yeah, the what Karen's talking about is we do a track walk the night before the event, and so we literally walk around the track. It's 2.3 miles, and it's a lot of elevation, so bring your walking shoes. But we talk about the nuance of the track, and including like just tips, you know, to get around. It's stuff we cover in the classroom, so if you don't do the track walk, don't worry about it. But you do get a leg up if you can come the night before. And you know, we're pretty centrally located, so most people just ride in the morning. Say 60-70% just ride in the morning, maybe even more. The other thing is that most people don't trailer, they ride in. And because you don't, it takes really 3 minutes to get your bike ready to get on the track, as long as it's a good operating, you know, motorcycle with that's tight and good tires and all that. We don't require you to disable your lights or anything like that. All we have to do is cover the mirrors or turn or cover the mirrors or take them off or fold them in, and so that we don't want you looking in your mirrors. There's nothing behind you that you need to be concerned about. Being on the track is sort of like skiing. If you know skiing, it's the passer's responsibility to get by safely. Your job is just to hold your line. So that's why, and there's nothing you need to look at behind you. Everything you should be focusing on is what's ahead of you. So this is just a slide of the track, and it doesn't, I have the arrows here because it's indicating the clockwise direction, which is the direction that we just saw Karen going. But look at this track, it's amazing. And so what you don't see here is the elevation. This is terracing up a mountain. It goes terrace to up. This is the tallest part, the highest part, and it's got these great views, 360-degree view of the whole area around Palmer, and it's just beautiful. Anyhow, it's just such a great track. We're lucky to have it. Let's see, what else do I have here? I think there was something else. Let me see if I got one more thing. Then I want to open this up, and I want to, oh yeah, here we go. Oops. Let me try this again. Why that's like that. Okay, let's not do that. So is there anything else? Let's see. Those of you who've been here, I know Karen's helped describe what's going on. I see Dan Glenny's here. He's one of our instructors. Steve Peltier's here. He's been with us a few times. Let's see, other names, Dan Bisbee. Hey, Dan. So I do want to open it up, and I just want this to be an FAQ, Q&A, comments. It's all great. If you're going to make comments, just keep them short, so that we don't have, you know, long monologues, and then other people can't feel like they can speak up. Okay. All right, Peter, you ready?
Yeah. Ken, can you go through the scholarship, the way you do it? And I think Karen told me that they may have changed the benefit, but just the process of which one you do first and all that.
Yeah. Steve, do you want to hit that one? Steve Pelletier, you there?
I am, sure. Yeah, the MOA has changed that benefit to 20%, I believe, up to $200. And there's no 30-day notice anymore. And it can be done day before or day after, or I would say just make it timely.
So that's a great benefit, because I know before that you had to apply at least 30 days in advance.
Yeah,
But that's really great.
yeah,
So
it's really, excuse me.
yeah, the benefit's gone down from 250 to 200 if you're a member. What I always say is that you get $100 if you're not a member, but becoming a member is what, $45, Steve?
Yep.
Yep. And it's a great organization. So you're gonna, anyhow, I enjoy being part of that group. So that's it. Peter, does that answer your question?
I didn't quite get it. He said 20% or 200. I didn't get that.
20% up to $200. up to $200.
Right.
So this is 350. So would you only get $70 of it then?
Correct.
So that's new. That is new. Yeah.
That's a big difference because they used to give you 250. I think.
50. Yeah. Yeah, no, that is different. So sorry to hear that. Anyhow, still then I'm going to tell you it's the best, whatever, $350 minus the scholarship you'll ever spend. I don't know too many people that think that they wasted their money on this on these events. So
Yeah, and just a note on the training day, they're fantastic. The individual attention, the group camaraderie, just the education piece, the practical applications of the lessons are all timely, and it's done very, very well. And I think I gave you that feedback right after the session. So
you did.
Great job for your whole team.
Well, great. Yeah, we've worked hard at this. We've been doing it a long time. So that's, it's a well-honed machine. That's Steve brings up something that I want to make sure that people understand is that the lessons that you'll learn at this event, it will directly apply to your street riding. That's the whole point of it. We don't really want to make or train track day riders. That's really what Cyclesmith is doing, is that they are catering to track day riders. We fully understand that you are street riders and that the lessons that we teach is that we want to convey are actually best conveyed on a racetrack where it's controlled environment. And again, the classroom classroom practice on the track, rotation throughout the day, it's just, there's no better situation that I can see. And with this track at Palmer, it's so much like a street, like a windy mountain road, that's even another benefit.
And I also wanted to speak to the training, which is, is to go off of really what Steve said, is that it builds throughout the day. So, as you're out on the track and then coming in and you're in the classroom, get a little bit of a break and you're back out on the track again, you're constantly building on that knowledge all day long. And it increases all day long as you learn to go a little bit faster, learn to corner a little bit better, learn from body position, some of the other things that you do. I have been riding for 45 years and I've been doing track days I think I've missed 2 in 8 years or so. And it's great for a couple of reasons. It's great for one, all of us, first time you're out on your bike in the spring, and you have to get your legs under you again and remember what you're supposed to do and how not to die. So it's a great way to be able to get out there, especially that May one, to get out there and, get your motorcycle legs under you again and remember, what you're doing. The other thing I tend to realize is that there are things every year that that fall off my brain, and I tend to forget what I'm doing or what I should be doing. And getting out on the track is a big help in terms of kind of remembering, oh yeah, this is what I need to be doing. This is my focus. This is what I'm going to do. And the other thing is that, as Ken said earlier, people come year after year, and a lot of it is that you're also building on your own skill year after year and trying to get a little bit better than you were the last year. So it's not for a lot of people. It's for very few people, actually. I think it's a one-time event. Most people who go, end up going a few times because they see the value in it and because they see their skill level improve.
Yeah, the one and done thing is something that we would like to, make sure that people know that that's not the way you get the best benefit from this. So, somebody had something to say?
Yeah, Ken, I was wondering how you work on individual feedback.
So that's something that we're not able to really do, is individual feedback. This is a group lesson. So you get the opportunity to go out and practice what we teach in the classroom. That said, we have at least 2 instructors that are out on the track with you that are assigned to your group, whatever group that is. And they are available to you if you approach them and say, could you follow me and see how I'm doing? And their job is to say yes, and that they will do that. Now again, it's only 2 people in a group of 30, so just understand that. But more times than not, they don't get asked. Now, this is something that as much as we say, ask your instructor for help, and a lot of people are just shy about it and they don't. So that's something we will again encourage you to do, is because they're in the classroom with doing the classroom sessions, and whether I'm doing part of it, they're going to be in that classroom with me, and they're there for you. So as you leave the classroom, sort of corral one of them and just say, could you follow me? I'm a little lost here in this corner here, or just want to get an idea of how I'm doing. And they'll give you, a couple laps. They can't give you a whole session because there's other people they have to help with. So yeah, Steve.
Ken, just a note on that. On my day, from what I remember, the instructor was superb. He asked each one of us to follow him through sections of the track. And we followed him, I think, one lap, because you do like 5 or 6 laps at a time, and there were a group of 5 or 6 of us.
Yep.
And we followed him we took turns, each following him.
Yep.
on a lap, and then he would follow us. Well, he would follow us, or we would follow him. I can't remember which it was. It was one of those.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no,
that was extremely helpful.
Yeah, good. That's our Follow the Leader session. So we do that for all the groups, and depending on how many riders we have and how many instructors, it usually is about 5 or 6 riders per instructor, and that we lead you around for the whole first session. So your first 20-minute session, first time on the track, you get led around, and doesn't matter which group, whether you've been there before or not, everybody does the Follow the Leader session. Something that we added was it last year, that people were very just like Steve is mentioning, knew that it was very beneficial, that we actually started doing a second Follow the Leader session at after lunch. So we do 2 of those sessions. And why we decided to do that is because the morning, especially for people who are new, and most people who come are still first timers. For those of you who are first timers and you're nervous, you won't be alone. First of all, everybody's nervous, even if the people have come back. But the nerves go away as soon as you're just riding your motorcycle. It's your motorcycle and it's just pavement. So once you get out there and you start rolling around, the nerves go away, and you can now focus on the track. And by following the instructor and the group, it's like it's a conga line, that you start to get familiarized with the track, and we show you how to get on and off the track. Now, the last thing I'll say about that is that Steve was mentioning how each person got to get behind the instructor, and we do that with a little sort of you peel off and then everybody goes by, and then you get back on the end of the line so that everybody gets a chance to be directly behind the instructor. Is there anybody else, Jim?
I like the idea.
Yeah,
I like the idea of the track walk. What time's that going to be the night before?
Yeah, it's always about 5:15. Let me think. Yeah, because as soon as the regular track day gets off track, they get off track at 5. By then, people have been showing up since 4, because you can come and watch the regular track day riders go around in their sport bikes, and by the time they're off the track, it's like 5:15. We start gathering everybody, and by 5:30, we're walking.
Okay, thanks.
You bet. Anybody else? I can keep talking, but
Could you talk a little bit about what the how things go on a rainy day?
yeah, we get wet. So I just wrote an article for RevZilla on riding in the rain. And I think one of the paragraphs in there was about the benefit of a rainy track day because it's a controlled environment and it's raining. And what better environment can you possibly have but to be on wet pavement, that there's no puddling. So you're not going to have any hydroplaning. There's not going to be any oil, any sand, anything like that. No painted lines that you're going to slip on. So all the things that you have to be really careful of on the street in the rain for managing traction, all that's gone. So what you're left with is then being amazed at how much traction you actually have with your tires, particularly street tires. So as far as how do you end up dealing with a rainy day, is you got to have the attitude of like, it's just like a rainy ride, and you're on a long trip away from home, and it's going to rain, bring your rain gear for sure, so that you're comfortable, you're not distracted. But no, it's in some way you're going to learn, and no extra charge for a rainy day, but I tell you, you're going to learn a lot on a rainy day. So, and that's just the truth, I'll tell you. Anybody else?
Ken, you mentioned tires. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm on an adventure bike. I usually ride 50/50 tires.
Yeah.
Any comment on that? Should I stay with that, or?
You're fine. Listen, Tony from Tony's Track Days, he and I are partners in this. We just took our Tenerés 700 adventure bikes up in the BDR up in Vermont this last summer, and we left in the pouring rain. I mean, pouring rain. And we're on knobbies. I'm talking full knobbies, not 50/50s. And we were railing. So there's traction. There really is. Yes, you have to manage what traction your particular tires will give you. How do you know when that is? That's actually, I'm pretty sure I've got like 3 articles on that about how to get a feel for your traction, and being able to get a sense of just how much traction you have. Some people are better at sensing it than others, but the fact is that those 50/50 tires, what are they, Jim? What brand?
Mine are Heidenau's. The
Yeah,
Heidenau's
yeah,
350
sure.
counts.
Yeah, those are fine. You're going to be fine with those if it rains. And certainly if it's dry, this is no different. Remember, track day is no different than riding on a twisty road. It's just that there's no cars coming the other direction. Now, you are going to push it because you can. And so people end up, leaning more than they have before, which is, again, no extra charge, but because that's just going to happen. And that's a must. When it comes to training, if you come and do it, the track day, the parking lot course with me, one of my goals is to have you lean farther than you ever have before and still be safe. But most people have a lean angle limit, and they can't, won't lean past that. And that's dangerous, because there are going to be times you're in a corner and you have to lean more because the corner's tightening up. So on the racetrack, that's what we're aiming for you to do, is to lean more. And because you're doing that for 100 miles over the day of cornering pretty hard, and not even fast, but just cornering hard, is your tires are going to have that grainy look to them. Some people ask me about wear. It's like, please, that's shouldn't even be a part of the conversation. I mean, street tires are like, what do you get? Even if you get 6,000 miles out of a rear tire, which isn't very much, especially for you tourers, this is going to take off. If you do 100 miles, it might take off 200 miles of wear. Even let's triple it, 300 miles of wear. Really? You're going to worry about that? Don't worry about that. And the other thing I'll just say about your bike is that it needs to be in good condition, because it, just like your tires, are going to be stressed a little more. And I'm not talking about abusive. I'm just talking about when you're riding around on the street, your suspension's just kind of absorbing bumps and that kind of thing. Well, now you're asking the bike to lean, and there are different forces that are just a little bit more amplified than when you're riding on the street. Steve, you got something?
Yeah, just a comment. I was riding a TKC 70 on the track day, and that was no problem at all.
Yeah. Those tires tend to wear pretty quick. How did they wear out? How'd they look?
Didn't notice it appreciably. So
Yeah,
it was, yeah.
And those tires actually wear fairly quickly. Not as bad as the 80s, but yeah. So there you go. Good. And yeah, the handling, when we've had people show up on full-on knobbies, and we just tell them, said, that's not what these tires are designed to do. And I'm talking full knobbies, not 50/50s. And the guy was fine. He was on a KLR 650. He just, you ride within the limits of the bike. Which brings up another point about your bike, is that we have the 3 groups, and they're a lot of the designation is based on the motorcycle. So if you have a low slung Harley with floorboards, and you what's the maximum? 35 degrees. Those things are designed to lean. You'll be dragging your floorboards pretty regularly, probably by the end of the day. And that will limit the pace that you can keep in the corners. So we wouldn't want you in the same group as somebody on an FJR 1300 Sport Tour, which can lean up to 45 degrees. And so the bike itself is the limiting factor there. Speed does not matter. Speed has absolutely nothing to do with these events even, except what I said earlier about we can't have you doing 40 miles per hour on the straightaway when others are doing 80 or even 100. So anybody else have some questions? What are we at here? Time. We got some time.
Yeah, Ken, I got a question for you.
Yeah. Hey, Dan.
Hey, what do you consider a sport bike or a non-sport bike?
Great question. So we've opened it up a little bit more than we used to. We've really only because we're focusing on the Harleys. We really the baggers and the Gold Wings and adventure bikes. But mostly we're trying to get the cruiser crowd, to come because they need it. Let's face it, and I don't mean because they're cruiser riders. It's just that they're the mass population of motorcycle riders are riding cruisers. And they tend to be the ones who don't get the training. So that's, again, why we call it the non-sport bike day. Now, what we've opened it up to are like sport tours. So VFR 800s, like street triples. So the upright naked Triumph, that type of bike, that if it were had low clip-on handlebars and a fairing, it could be considered a sport bike. But again, the upright handlebar type of bike is fine. But like I say, it's obvious what a non-sport bike is when you think about cruisers, but also, adventure bikes. I had my Tiger 800 out there. I'll be riding my Tenere this next year. What else? We had a Bergman, the big scooter. Guy was railing. He was just as fast as that Bergman could go safely. He was doing such a great job. So that just goes to show you, if you don't know what a Bergman is, it's a big scooter, but it was one of the 650s, so it could do 80 miles an hour or 70 or whatever. Went fast enough. It wasn't a problem. Got to remember that the skill and on a racetrack particularly is all in the corners. The straightaways they're just a necessary evil to get you to the next corner, because motorcycling for safety, for training, and for fun is cornering. Going down the highway, I get it. Traveling, I'm a traveler, but when it comes to getting your skills developed, cornering is where it's at. And the other thing about it is that half, depends on the year. You can argue whether it's 5% here or there, but half of the fatalities are single vehicle, which means it's just the rider and a corner, and they fail to negotiate the corner and go off the road, hit the guardrail, hit an oncoming car. That's why the training on the cornering is so important. Yes, you have to manage other road users and intersections and all that, because that makes up the other half. But that's another type of course. That's a strategies type course. So.
Can you speak to? I think we have a lot of newer people here who haven't done track day. Can you speak to gear?
Oh, great question. Yeah. So this is almost like the second thing that we oftentimes see as hurdles. The first thing being the fact that it's on a racetrack and they can't, people have a hard time getting over the fact that it's just a piece of pavement and that we're not racing. And that oftentimes they'll say, well, can I wear my open face helmet? No. Can I wear my chaps? Well, you can, but it has to be over armored motorcycle pants or Kevlar jeans with armor. That's fine. Chaps don't have armor. So when I'm talking about armor, I'm talking about just that, the stuff that's in your elbows and in your shoulders on your jacket, that you need that on your knees for your pants. And when it comes to the upper part, it can be leather, it can be nylon, Cordura, motorcycle specific, and with that armor. And you can buy a jacket and it might not come with the armor. Almost all of them have shoulder and elbow armor, but they might not have the back protector. And we don't I don't know. I mean, we really, really, really want you to have a back protector and something better than the little mouse pad type of foam. And those things are only like, they're not much money, to have an accessory thing. If you go to Revzilla, and you can just see that, they always offer, an upgraded armor. But most jackets, good jackets, come with a back protector and all the armor you need. Um, so there's that. The helmet has to be full face. It doesn't have, it can be a modular, a flip up, but you always ride with it down and clipped. Um, but we can't have open face helmets, and obviously not half helmets or anything like that. We do have there's those hybrid helmets that's kind of an open face helmet that has a chin part that's attached. We allow those kind of begrudgingly, only because they're not that safe. But we'll work with you on that. As far as shoes and boots go, the best protection is the best protection, and it's really for you. We want to make sure that a simple tip over doesn't result in a broken ankle, and then a trip to the in the blinky bus, in the ambulance. And if you have good boots, then it's just a tip over and you don't have that problem. But I do get people that want to wear these what's now like riding shoes, and they become pretty popular. They're really not protective. I like them for just, being around in the street, casual riding. But you have to think of this as a little more than just casual riding. And so your gear should match that. And so full motorcycle, they can be touring boots, that's fine, but they have to go up your calf and up your shin. And ideally they will have some kind of armor in the shin. And then usually they have a little armor in the ankles, where the bones protrude. And then of course rubber soles. We can't have cowboy boots with we don't want cowboy boots at all, but with leather soles, that's not going to give you good traction. And what am I missing? Gloves? Yeah, they have to be full coverage gloves. They can't be the little shorty ones like the summer gloves, because you're going to have exposed skin. So they have to be a full coverage, like a gauntlet type glove. We don't require you to attach your jacket to your pants. Some track day organizations do. But we can't have, you when you're in a riding position to show skin, like on the bottom of your back. That has to be covered over. So that's something that you have to sort of make sure that happens. Because if we see you out there and there's something, with your gear, we're probably going to have to talk to you and just see what we can come up with to make sure that you're, that you're complying with your safety. It's your safety that we're really concerned about if something were to happen, which is, this is what we consider minimum street riding gear, is what I just described, because it doesn't have to be leather. It can be Aero Stitch. It can be, Field Shear, any of the companies that have Cordura nylon jackets and pants, and we just want the armor. As far as mesh jackets, it can be mesh as long as the shoulders and elbow and the impact areas are solid. And a lot of them are. You don't really generally see mesh in those areas. There's usually a solid material in those areas, and then the mesh is in the chest and the back. Those are okay. Those aren't great protection anyhow, but I have one and I wear it. But so does that cover mostly what I should be talking about, Mike?
I guess I'm curious that we have 20 people in the room, and some people have been people who've done track day before. But I'm curious to see, of the 20 people that are in the room, did you get your questions answered when you came tonight? Or do you have other things that you're uncertain about, or that still make you say, geez, I'm not sure if this is for me, that we could answer for you, that may be helpful? And I mean, we're a friendly group of folks, so you can jump right in here. We don't bite. But I find it curious that we've got almost 20 people in the room, limited amount of questions. So it almost, begs to ask me, when people came, did we either just do this really, really well? Or are you just being shy and not asking whatever you really want to ask? And if that's the case, feel free to ask whatever you want to ask.
It's true. I have heard every question, and so you can't ask a stupid question, believe me. So feel free, please do. It helps us because then I know whether I'm hitting all the FAQs that I tend to assume that I am, but I might not for you.
And you ought to promote your photographer. I forget, is it RC?
RC, boy,
Yeah.
RC is so great. Yeah.
There's it's a great keepsake. Does a great job. I think he usually catches you maybe in 2 different turns over the course of the day, maybe.
More than that, but at least 2. Yes,
Yeah.
at least 2. Yeah.
Actually
Yeah.
makes you look way better than you are.
Ken, you want hard saddlebags removed if possible?
That's optional. That's up to you. If they come off easily, I would say why not? Right? And it's fine because you can take them off and you can just set them where you park. And I've never had anybody have their stuff messed with. So don't worry about that. But a lot of people, and I'm actually trying to find a photo here that shows, I was just showing it to somebody, that, people riding around with all their luggage, and it's absolutely fine.
Okay, because I think in that little course that you have to cycle through,
Yeah.
it does seem to be indicating that the luggage should be removed.
Oh, it's optional. Yeah, it might be that we worded that at one point, that we was wanting you to do it. But I mean, here, the photo I'm about to show you, right? So this was one of our track days,
Okay.
no big deal. Look at that body position. That's a nice photo right there. But yeah, so there you go. It's optional.
There's all the bags right there.
Yep, it's all of them.
Yeah.
Now I wouldn't have a cinder block in them, I mean, empty them out because you don't want that extra weight flopping around and stuff, But yeah, and that's a beauty. That's a nice looking bike right there. So great question. Anybody else? So really seriously, somebody who's never been to a track day, one of our non-sport bike track days, this is unique. I'm the only one that has really, I got my cat here. We're the only ones who do it up here, and people are starting to copy us around the country. But we're sort of the only ones who've started this, and we do it. It's not like a normal track day. And that's just something I really want you to know. So can anybody who's not done one, you've got to have a question. Or you're just curious about something. What's it like? What's the track like?
I have a question or a comment more so than a question.
Yeah.
So last year the name was the Advanced Street Rider Training Course.
Yeah.
This year it's now back to the non-sport bike track day.
Training day.
Training day.
Yeah.
Oh, is it training day or is it track day?
It's training day. All I'm doing is taking out the track name,
Oh, that would be
replacing it with
fantastic.
training.
That would be fantastic because
Yeah.
Haggerty has a particular rider in their policy that cancels the policy if you do a track day.
Yeah, really. So
Yes.
even our regular track days, that's pretty draconian. We don't generally have that with other insurance companies.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
noted
definitely, go ahead.
it was a new thing that I discovered going through the process of transitioning to Haggerty.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely the non-sport bike training day. And, for the reason I said before is it's just to try to get people over that hurdle. As soon as they say that they hear track, they're like, I'm out. I don't want anything. I don't want my bagger on a racetrack. But it's really about what it is. And it's about training. This is what it's always been about for us. So yeah, that's legit.
Thanks.
I think one thing worth mentioning, Ken, is the BMW MOA discount that you can get when you're doing the track day, which is available to BMW riders or not, or BMW MOA members or not.
Right.
It's a great way to get a little discount on a great day.
Yeah. Dan's one of our instructors. Hey, Dan.
Okay.
Yeah, Steve Pelletier mentioned that a little earlier. It is less of a scholarship than it was last year, but it's still it's an easy application and it's free money. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. Anybody else? There's got to be some more. We've got we're at
And I was
5.
gonna ask, maybe you could talk about the facility. It's my first time there, so I'm assuming we're gonna get a lunch break. Is food nearby? Should we bring food? What's the, not to get off the track,
No,
so to
this is
speak, but
No, this is exactly the sort of questions I want to answer. We provide you lunch. So that's again a bonus, excuse me, that you won't get at most other track days. You will at track schools that that you will pay $2,000 for. But no, we give you food. We that's part of your tuition is we give you lunch. And there's bathrooms. It's a full, buildings. We have a classroom. We have a big tent, that we have our lunch under. You can rent garage space or a carport area, and you can share that. That's all on the website. I just updated that because the track just gave me that information that they're changing the way they do things. And you order that directly through them. I have nothing to do with that. If you want, guarantee of being out of the sun or out of the rain. But it's going to cost you a little bit. I think it's $40 a spot. I forget exactly. Anyhow, it's on the
It's
website.
cheap. It's cheap. And the other thing about that is you can fit 2, 3, 4 bikes in a spot. So, a spot isn't a single bike. So I have shared, before with 2 or 3 bikes in a spot and everybody throws in $10. So it's really reasonable.
Yeah. Because these are spots that are for cars. So how many bikes can you fit in easily? Yeah, 4, 3 for sure. Depends on how big your bags are. So great
Yeah.
question. Is there any other question like that, Jim, that you're curious about the facility or about?
that's all I can think of now. I'm sure as soon as the meeting's over, I'll come up with.
That's how it goes. Yeah, you can always email me, ken@ridinginthezone.com, if you got a question. But I will say that I have those online sort of courses that have all the FAQs are answered in that. So if you want to just sort of poke around, the answer is likely in online. But I'm happy to answer questions too.
Ken?
Jim, if you do come up with a question later on, you're also able to, through NER or Riding in the Zone, be able to jump on and ask, those questions there as well and get some answers from people. And also even to, request that people who have done track days, that they jump into a conversation and talk to people who have done it. I think that there is no better recommendation than to talk to somebody who's done it, and those people who are nervously excited in the beginning and by your 3rd time around the track you're like, can't believe you didn't do this before.
Yeah.
That's a pretty common feeling for people.
Yeah.
Hey, Ken, are all 3 groups on the track at the same time?
Negative. No. One group on at a time. So they're 20-minute sessions. So over the hour, each group gets 20 minutes separately. So you'll have about 30 people, 33 people, 34 on a track at any given time. Now that's on a 2.3 mile track. So if everybody were spread out evenly, which you aren't, there would be like almost a 3/4 of a football field between each of you. So there's plenty of space. It's just that, just like on the highway, we tend to bunch up. But so no, we have only a 1/3 of the riders are out on the track at a time.
Okay, and then what's the other 40 minutes allocated to on each hour?
20 minutes for you to recoup, drink, because this will use up a lot of liquid. You need to hydrate, and then 20 minutes or so in the classroom.
Okay.
So as soon as you get off the track, you come to the classroom. And the way we have it set up also is that you might be parked a little far from the classroom, in which case you'd have to park, get yourself something to drink and walk all the way back to the classroom. We have an area in front of the classroom where when you come off the track, you can just park. We all have side stands, so just park and then come into the classroom and get the classroom, portion finished, and then you can get back on your bike and then go park and get your water. Or you can leave water, in the classroom. I don't care. That's fine.
Is there water or Gatorade or something available at the track to purchase?
There's only, you will for your lunch there, they have water, but it's only going to be like 1 bottle. So you have to bring your own water. That's something that, when you got your when you get yourself prepared for this, bring water. You can't bring too much. And obviously we're on motorcycles, and you might be on a, like say, CRF, 300 or something with a backpack. Yeah, well, do the best you can, fill up that backpack with liquid. And it's better to have something that's gonna replenish your electrolytes too. So mix half water and half Gatorade or something like that.
And most roads leading to the track have a convenience store where you can stop and grab stuff. That's typically what I do. Is I'll stop and let me speak to also gas. I mean, you should come with a full tank of gas, but there is also gas available halfway through the day if you need it. It's not the least expensive gas you'll ever buy in your life, which is why you want to get gas before you come. But if for some reason you end up using more gas than you thought you were going to, or it makes you nervous or whatever, you do have the ability to fill up at the track.
Yep. But again, a full tank will usually, I don't know if anybody that's ever run out. But yeah, you can, if you want to avoid buying the gas that's at the track, because it's very expensive. These are
The
great questions.
bathroom water is drinkable at
It
Palmer.
is. So Stevens,
So
you're
you
right.
could refill, you don't have to come with 5 gallons of water, unless you only like to drink bottled water.
Yeah, Stephen's right. I have when I've needed to drink the water out of the tap. It's fine. Yeah. We're not in Ecuador or someplace where you're going to get problems.
Ken, you might have already said it, but the sign up is on your site.
Yep, ridinginthezone.com, and there'll be a link that's just training, and then just follow all the links, and it's pretty self-explanatory. But thanks, Peter. Yeah. So ridinginthezone.com. And like I say, we've got 2 dates, May 28th and July 30th. And they're both on Tuesdays. And that just works out because some people are like, well, why can't we do it on a Saturday? It's like, well, it would cost you twice as much. It would be a $700 track day because the track charges us, a premium for weekend days. So we're doing you a favor by doing it on a Tuesday, believe me. It would just make it unaffordable.
There's also, depending on how far you're coming from, I know Kent, a lot of people ride into track days, but a lot of people also stay, and there's a lot of little motels around there to stay at that are nearby that are really inexpensive. If you want to do that, depending on how far you're riding home, sometimes it's advisable to grab a room for the night, relax and make your way home easily the next day, but really whatever suits you best. But just so you know, there are motels nearby that are reasonable to stay at.
And if you care to hang out with New England Riders people, they tend to have a dinner, a gathering the night before. And I know that oftentimes there's one of the motels nearby is where all the NER people tend to stay. So it ends up being a really fun event, that goes beyond just the day. But like I say, most people just ride in the morning and ride home at the end of the day. But you know yourself better than I do, and that if you feel like your ride home would not be safe, or that you aren't great in the morning and getting up, because we start at 7 a.m. That's when we open up the bike inspection. So we get on track sharp at 9. The riders meeting is at 8 o'clock sharp, and you have to be at the riders meeting 8 a.m. And we end the day at 5 o'clock. As in if you're the faster group, you will be on the track at 4 o'clock, and that will be your last session. So the 4 o'clock session is the last session for all the groups. So by the time it's 5 o'clock, then they're ready to kick us out.
And you're still doing the track walk even though it's Memorial Day?
Oh yeah, so there's a track day going on that day before. So yeah, I'll be there all weekend. Yeah. Steve, anything else?
Yeah, if people are interested in any questions on the grant, I can give you an email address. It's the Paul B at bmwmoaf.org.
So I've got that on my website too, that right on the menu, it says scholarships. Click on that, and that will bring you right to that information and directly to the MOA Foundation. So you got Steve just telling you that, and also pointing you to where you can find it online.
Awesome.
I could add that if you apply for it ahead of the track day, which used to be in the past, once you do the track day, Ken will send you a certificate that said you did it, which you'll submit to the MOA, along with a receipt for what you paid for your track day. And then the MOA will send you the check for the amount that you were granted. But anyway, so that's
Yes.
a little bit of a detail, but that's how it works.
Yep.
Perfect. Yep. So I email certificates to those who requested. I don't give it to everybody because not everybody takes advantage of it. But you would email me after the event, has to be after the event, proof that you actually took the course, and then you submit that to the MOA. As far as your proof of purchase, that's going to be your PayPal receipt, or it's proof that you paid through PayPal.
Yep.
Anybody else? We're over an hour, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to answer more questions, but it seems like we've maybe touched on just about everything. So tell your friends. Here's the other thing is you're doing, and you know, if you're first time and you're a little anxious, it's always less anxious if you bring a friend along. And, you know, but I will say you're going to make friends when you come to our track days. And Steve Peltier mentioned earlier about the camaraderie. And we're all there for the right reasons. And we're all there to help each other. So we make it as painless as possible for you to transition from being a regular old street rider to a street rider who's ridden on a racetrack and done their training at the most amazing and beneficial environment you could do it on. Cool. So before we go, let me just think if there's something else. I'm giving a talk at the Old School Harley Davidson on Saturday, this Saturday coming up. That's in Ellington, Connecticut. I did one last Saturday down in New Haven at Freedom Road. We had 70 people show up, and it was a cornering seminar. And this one here on Saturday, I'm going to focus on braking and all the nuances of advanced braking. So it's free. And I think they're providing pizza, I believe. So just come. And again, bring a friend because this, you know, everybody's got a friend that needs training. They need to know, you know, what they don't know. And that's what I do. So, and it's free. Again, I'm just doing it because. Is that about it? Anything, Mike? Anything you want to mention?
Nothing else that I can think of. I think we covered everything pretty well. As I said, you know, if you come up with questions afterwards, you're uncertain about something, you know, Ken's riding in the zone, New England Riders, as well as I'm sure you can find Steve over at MOA and other places. But we hope to see you out there, and hopefully this was helpful for you in determining whether, you know, this is for you or not.
Good. So one last thing before we sign off is that I've got my schedule up for street training, adventure bike training, adventure riding, and the advanced parking lot course. So the parking lot course starts to fill up pretty quick. I've got 4 of them this year. It's a great way to just start to, you know, work on the more advanced skills on your motorcycle in a parking lot. So all that stuff's on my website, ridinginthezone.com. And be sure to visit the YouTube channel. I've got 150 videos, about 100 of them are instructional. And they're me narrating while I'm going around either a racetrack or on the street or on ice or something. So yeah, no, I just like sharing what I do. So there you go. It was great seeing all of you. Hey, Paul, good to see that you were here.
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, you betcha. Okay, guys, let's sign off.
Thanks very much, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Ken.
And I put a question in the
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, you
chat
did?
for you.
Okay, hang on then.
No worries, you can.
I'm here. Do you know why Patreon subscription stopped? Oh yeah. Did yours stop?
Yes.
So, I'm going to look into that because I know that that a few people had said something about that. Let me look into it. But yours stopped. Okay, then I will look into it then. All right. But I appreciate that. Appreciate you.
worries.
Reading it.
Me too.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, great to see you.
Have a good night.
Okay, bye-bye.